Hey everybody, it's Zach here. So, today I had a horrible experience at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Up here in the town of St. Cloud, we have O'Reilly Auto Parts. We have like a few ones I haven't really heard of before, but our two bigger ones are O'Reilly's and Advanced Auto Parts. Well, with my experience, Advanced Auto Parts doesn't really have the doesn't ever really have it. It's like I don't know if they just don't have the inventory that O'Reilly has or what, but they've never had what I needed at the time. So I've always went to O'Reilly's. O'Reilly's. So I have a O'Reilly reward card and stuff like that, but I don't know if I'll be shopping there after today. So a few days ago I went to O'Reilly's and I bought a EGR solenoid, $30 part. When I was in there talking to the guy, he says, hey, I had a few weird codes. One was like the gas recirculation, a lean code, and another lean code or something like that. And I had just replaced two oxygen sensors, the same two that popped up when I went there and checked it out. I replaced those oxygen sensors previously, so I knew it wasn't that wasn't what it was, and so I was like, it could be my catalytic converter, the dude said, but I'm like, I don't know about that either. So what I did is I got that solenoid. I take a lot of my motor apart, and I clean out the gas recirculation thing, which should have some carbon in it, and everything like that, and I plugged in the new solenoid, and I could tell that it didn't do a difference at all. I tried interchanging them a few times to see, like, does it run better once I plug it in or not, and I realized, it doesn't, and it took only 10 minutes. I unplug it, I put it back in the box. Well, I didn't get there since then. Like I said, it was a few days ago. Actually, that was Sunday, and today is Thursday. So I hadn't been there for a few days, and I said, okay, today I'm going to go back and return that part because I don't need it. So I go in there, and I'm like, I just need to return this. And he's like, did it not work for you? And I said, yeah, I plugged it in, but it didn't fix my problem, whatever, Oh, I'm sorry, we can't return this because it's an electronic. That's what he said to me. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we don't take returns on electronics. And I said, well, I was like, I'm still kind of like, what? Because you're a parts store. I mean, if Walmart will take back produce, they'll take back anything. Walmart, Target, anywhere. My work will take back anything, no matter what. It's called customer service. You can't tell me I bought a part that I didn't need. I mean, what if it was my car's computer, and I bought it and it wasn't the right one or something like that, and I go to return it and I can't. It doesn't make sense, So I was like, alright, I try not to get frustrated. He's like, my hands are really tied on it, dude, I just can't. It's like, whatever. So I come home, and I'm frustrated at this point, because you're not a parts store, but it gets better. So I call and I'm like, can I talk to the manager, please? And the manager wasn't in, so I talked to the assistant manager. Well, I tell him, I got the part, and it didn't fit. I was like, I don't even have a use for it. I said, it works fine. It's not that. I said, I just don't have a use for it. I don't understand why I can't return it. Oh, well, normally we don't, blah, blah, blah. So I just kept kind of arguing with him until he was like, okay, we'll take it back, because that's just dumb, It's just a dumb policy. So I go in there, right? And, I'm not really going to say anything to the guy because it's policy, and I know how, policy works. I'm not going to get too frustrated at him, which I just want him to understand that yes, I am going to get this part returned, because that's the most bogus policy I've ever heard in my life. So, he returns it, and right at the end, this is kind of what got me. you know, we're just making kind of small talk, whatever. I wasn't being rude or anything like that. I didn't say anything, you know, like, that's such a BS, whatever. I didn't say anything like that. I was just like, we'll return it, we'll be done with it. Well, at the end, he says, normally we don't try to tell people what's wrong with their cars. I mean, we're not mechanics or anything. And you know what he said? You know, that's probably true and all. But what he said is, we don't try to tell people, you know, he said we're not supposed to tell people what's wrong with their car just because of this. Is what he said in a nutshell, because they are liable, I suppose, in that case. And he says, we're not mechanics here. Well, if you're working at like O'Reilly Auto Parts or Advanced Auto Parts, you're not supposed to hire a dang monkey off the street that doesn't know a thing about cars. I'm sorry. If you work at an auto parts store, you should have some knowledge of how cars work and where parts go. And every time I go to a parts store and I try to explain to them what's going on, they never know what is going on. And I understand there's tons of cars out there, but when I went to the Ford dealership and I brought my part in and I set it on there and I was just about to open my mouth, the dude was like, oh, that's from a 2001 Mercury Sable, and goes and grabs the part. And to me, that was amazing. I'm like, whoa, you know that? Well, the point is that the dude said, for one, they can't tell you what's wrong with your car, because then this kind of stuff happens. Which, if you work at a parts store, you should have some knowledge of how a car works, and they should be able to tell you, you know, because I'm frustrated. And he also said, you know, we're not mechanics here. Well, the reason why I'm going to a parts store is because I don't want a mechanic to do it. Mechanics are too expensive for me to pay to fix my car. And the fact is, like I said, you should have some sort of knowledge of how my car works. And even if it is the wrong part, if you would take back the part, there wouldn't be any problem at all. And with with all types of cars nowadays becoming more and more electronic, I mean, have you ever seen a wiring harness on the car? I would never ever know even where to begin with something wrong like that. And the fact is, if you're not going to tell me, if you're going to let me scan my car, but you're not going to tell me what it means and what is going to fix it, because you're not a mechanic or know anything about cars apparently, and you're going to play dumb, well, then after that, if the scanner tool can't tell me and you can't tell me, what other option is there? Trial and error. And that's exactly what a parts store is supposed to be. You're supposed to be able to trial and error to fix your car. Yeah, I could bring it in and have a mechanic plug it in, and he would charge me $100 to plug it into a computer and scan it for a half an hour and tell me every last little thing that's wrong with it, I'm sure. But I can't afford to pay this dude $100 because that's how much this part's going to cost me. And oh, it's so frustrating. I just want to pound out whoever made that stupid policy. But that's my horrible O'Reilly experience, and I know for sure I'm not going to that O'Reilly because that was just dumb, and the policy is going to be the same, so I have to switch auto parts stores now because that just pissed me right off. What company does that? And like I said, nowadays probably half the stuff in my car is electronic. So if you're not allowing half of your customers to return electronic parts that don't work because you didn't tell them, or because you don't have any knowledge on what you're doing and everything else like that, pisses me off. You guys probably know what I mean, but I'm not even close to done being ranting. I've been ranting all day long. It's ridiculously stupid. The thing is, I can slap a ball joint in my car, drive it around for a week, pull it back out, and they'll take it without even questioning me at all. Yet I plugged in a solenoid for exactly 10 to 20 minutes, pulled it off, put it right back in the box, and sat it on the seat. Yet he can't take it back because it's an electronic. The dude said the most that they can do is warranty it. If it doesn't work, I can warranty it for you. If it doesn't work, you're giving my money back, otherwise I'm going to punch you in the face. Gosh. Alright, I'm done. Anyways, that is the bogus return policy I've ever heard in my life. I gotta be done.